7:30, so I have started the recording. I am now calling to order the Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Riverwoods for December 15th, 2020. May I have a roll call, please? You're muted, Daphne.
Trustee Chamberlain?
Here.
Trustee Clayton?
Here.
Trustee Goldstein?
I'm here.
Trustee Haber?
Here.
Trustee Hollander?
Here.
Trustee Jamerson?
Here.
President Norris?
Here. Everyone is present, so we have a quorum. First item of business is approval of minutes. First, the Board of Trustees meeting from December 1st, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, roll call please to approve the minutes of December 1st.
Trustee Chamberlain?
Aye.
Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein?
Aye.
Trustee Haber?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander?
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson?
Aye.
Right, the minutes are approved for the Board of Trustees meeting for December 1st, 2020. Now I need a motion for approval of the public hearing minutes for the Truth and Taxation hearing from December 1st, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved,
moved.
and those are the amended minutes, right?
Yes.
Second.
Are there any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, may I have a roll call on the motion to approve the public hearing minutes from the Truth and Taxation hearing of December 1st, 2020.
Trustee Chamberlain?
Aye.
Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein?
Aye.
Trustee Haber?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander?
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Village Ecologist report. Steve is still on vacation. Treasurer's report.
Well, we don't have any cash statements now for the end of November due to the impact on the staff. So we'll have to wait on that. And the rest of it's in your agenda.
Because our other is a consulting accountant tested positive for COVID. So being an accountant seems to be a dangerous occupation. Engineers report.
Just a couple updates. We did send out surveys to the homeowners both along Riverwoods Road and on Woodland Lane, or what's locally known as Little Woodland Lane off of Crestwood, to gauge the interest of the residents in a potential water main project. On Woodland Lane, we sent out 17 questionnaires. We got 5 no responses, 5 responses that would be interested in a project, and 7 that didn't respond at all. With those, the 5 that are interested are all generally kind of grouped along the south part of Woodland Lane nearest Crestwood. So I think there is some potential for a project to at least to get something to serve those folks. There's still some investigation to do because we didn't get responses from a few people that would at least have to grant easements to make that feasible. So I'll work up something that works with that group and bring that back to the board for further consideration. On Riverwoods Road, we sent out 13 questionnaires for everyone between Studio Lane and Saunders Road. We got 1 yes response, 2 no responses, and 10 people that didn't respond at all. So I'm really not sure where to go with that. You'll recall that we had 1 resident who is having some pretty serious issues with his water supply, and we've been trying to come up with a way to get Lake Michigan water to him, but there I guess what we can say pretty confidently is there doesn't seem to be a huge groundswell of interest in with the other neighbors there for for a project on Riverwoods Road.
Well, if you can't be bothered to send back a questionnaire, I really doubt that you're going to be willing to pay that much money for something. Yes, Rick?
I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's for Pat or for Bruce Huvard. Can we force an easement on somebody if they decide they don't want to give an easement? If they're in the middle of something, we can condemn it or whatever it is to get an easement. I don't know what the legal term
That's
is.
the right term.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we've had to threaten a couple of times to do that in the past, but it usually works out. Yes, Henry?
I wanted to know, for the neighbors of the individual who we've been trying to help, or at least understand this problem, are they in the same aquifer as he is? Do you know, Pat?
Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, everybody, all the residential wells in town are in the same aquifer, largely, between, say, 90 and 150 feet deep.
So that they're able to, his neighbors are able to get water that is reasonable for them?
Yeah, and we've seen, I've seen throughout my time in Riverwoods, even though folks are in the same aquifer, there can be huge discrepancies in water quality between neighbors even. And Jack Schwal has confirmed that, and it is very hit or miss. And, one property just might hit a high sulfur pocket, and it fouls their water completely, and they could be surrounded by people that they have no issues with their water.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Mike Habert?
I was just wondering, how did we actually send the questionnaire to these people? Because the mail has been so haphazard lately. I've been experiencing it at my office. I think a lot of people are experiencing problems with the mail. I'm just wondering, getting only 2 responses on the Riverwoods Road section seems like really insane.
We just sent them USPS. If the board would like, we could send them out certified or overnight, so we at least know that they get there. It's not a huge universe of letters to send.
Actually, I'm thinking of maybe just and I would even be willing to do it. I would just drop it in everyone's mailbox, just drive it. It's not that many homes.
Yeah.
Because that way it would probably, I don't think people want to go to the post office now because of certified mailings, everyone's like afraid to go out of their homes. So I'm just wondering if maybe like hand delivery, saying we didn't get a first response from you guys. Here's a second, questionnaire. Maybe we'll get a better result. I don't know.
Well, Mike, if you're volunteering, I'm certainly willing to have the letters resent.
I'm volunteering. I'll do it.
Technically, that's a
I know it's illegal.
Please don't say that on the meeting.
I've learned the hard way. The postmaster taking me to task is as long as you put postage on it, it's the unmetered mail in the mailbox that they don't like. As long as you put the postage on it, the postmaster hasn't had much trouble with that.
We can also check that, and I'll talk with Katie about it. We can perhaps email a number of them as well.
Yeah, if we
See
have
if
their
we can
email
do that.
addresses.
Because I don't want to make you go out any more than you have to with it, Mike.
I just want to make sure that they actually get it, because I
Understood.
don't know if anybody else has been experiencing it, but we've been experiencing terrible service with the United States Postal.
Well, I haven't noticed any worse than usual. Because I do know that while rain nor sleet nor gloom of night keeps them away, if a car happens to be parked near your mailbox, they can't deliver the mail. So, because they actually put that in the mail the next day when they delivered 2 days worth. So I don't have a problem with it, especially since we have at least one resident that does seem to have a very strong interest to try and work this out. And some of it certainly is in the village interest overall. So I'll talk with Katie and Pat tomorrow about how we want to try to arrange that. And we'll use both email and messenger service, I guess. All right, any other questions for Pat?
I actually just have one quick other topic. I noticed that the water meter proposal, the no progress report came off the agenda, but Actually, I talked to the census folks. I expect to have, they're doing their propagation study right now to confirm that they can get a signal from, all the homes. They expect to have that wrapped up and have a quote for us probably at the second meeting in January. So we should have our investigations pretty well complete by then.
And we're able to confirm that they can use the Badger hardware, et cetera, since that was a question.
Yes, and I when I talked to the census folks, I asked them to give me some examples of other communities where they've done exactly that, so we can truth it out. I'm getting, the Badger folks say, no, you can't put census equipment on our meter bases, and the census folks say, yes, we absolutely can. So I think we probably want to talk to folks, in other communities that have done that, so we know what's to be believed.
So I'm seeing a hand up from Paul. I believe that's the gentleman we've been talking with on road. Oh, Rick, you're first.
May I just ask a quick question, as long as Pat
Sure.
opened the door about the water meters?
Yes.
Did we get the water meters reading issue figured out?
If you're asking me, absolutely.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. I don't need to take everybody's time up, but I'm just curious what the outcome.
Yeah, we basically figured out that people used more water. We're double checking now. We know that Deerfield and other communities used it too, so we want to close that one final door to make sure. But I even noticed on the Thorngate Facebook group, when someone was complaining, somebody else mentioned that their brother who lived in Deerfield was complaining about a bill that was about twice the size. People simply used more water than they realized, is what I'm afraid it comes down to. Plus, it's the first time they've got the full brunt of the 2 increases from Northbrook.
Okay.
Because before, the water usage had been lower.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, Paul, I'm seeing you have a hand up. Did you have a comment on this?
Yes. Hi, thanks everybody for hearing me out. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, please identify yourself for the record.
Paul Tsakiris, 2375 Riverwoods Road, Riverwoods, Illinois. So I'm the owner of that property. We've lived there 13 years, myself, 4 children. We're very happy there. We love Riverwoods. We never came to you guys for anything. We don't bother anybody, but I mean, we happen to be in that pocket that you guys described. The sulfur level's unbearable. We have, 6 people there now with COVID and 7 actually, if you count my mother-in-law. And it's just, we can't even bathe half the time. I have to go to the health club to shower many mornings. It's torturous. And we hired professionals. Look, I own a real estate company. I developed retail centers, apartment buildings, I rehab, I have full crews. And everybody I've talked to says the most logical way is just to run the main straight down versus a temporary feed that I'm gonna have to pay for. Then when you eventually run the main, I'll have to pay for it again because you have to disconnect it. And I just want to impress upon you guys that it is a very serious problem for us. The second thing I want to say is, well, let me finish with the first thing. I paid $38,000 in taxes over there a year. I think I'm entitled to be able to take a shower, me and my family. That's one. Number 2, in terms of the mail, guys, I didn't even know what that letter was. I personally saw it a couple weeks afterwards, laying with a bunch of other mail. I thought it was, one of those Riverwoods updates, maybe. So I didn't recognize it for what it was. I would ask that if at all possible, it's 13 households, maybe we can just call them.
Well, we are going to make efforts to contact them. We prefer things in writing for obvious reasons that sometimes people's memories are different.
If we just gauged interest, maybe we could just gauge preliminary interest. But other than that, after that, let's say the interest is no, we need some clear direction. I mean, if you're asking me to pay $85,000 for the main line plus whatever, I mean, it's just, I don't think it's fair. I should pay my fair share of whatever it would cost. All these homes. Anyway, I'm frustrated. I don't want to ramble, but this process has been very, very difficult for us.
Right. All right. Anyone else have any comments from the board? Moving on then, Director of Community Services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All I was say, we're keeping up with everything. Building permits have slowed down. We did about 10 or 12 in the last 2 weeks. I think everything because of the holidays is taking a little bit of a rest here. Usually I come in, I get about 15 to 20 phone calls a week and voicemails, and I only had, when I came in this morning, I had 6, so it was really surprising. But anyways, we're up to date, keeping everything. I've got 3 permits sitting on my desk, 1 house and 2 additions, and went to the doctor today. So hopefully in the next week or so, my eye's going to be better and I'll be able to read all the stuff and get it back out the door again. So that's where we're at. And we're keeping up at least with all the other stuff.
Any questions for the Director of Community Services? All right, then Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet. Plan Commission report.
You want me to do that, Bruce? Sure, okay. The Plan Commission met on December the 3rd, and we held a hearing.
Lori, I can't hear Lori. I don't know about other people.
It's
Oh.
softer.
I'm having a terrible time with my system. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can fix this. Can you hear me better now? No? Hang on. I don't know what the problem is.
I turned the volume up on my system and I can hear her better. So maybe unless you're.
It's clear, it's just weak.
Can you hear me better now? Hello?
Whoa.
We need
Oh.
closed captioning.
Some of us could use it anyway, Mike.
Oh, wait a minute, I just did something here.
Maybe just try talking loudly and we can hear you well enough.
Make believe you were talking to your husband when he didn't take out the garbage.
Oh. he's
There
pretty
you
good.
go. That was
Okay.
perfect.
Right, I'm holding it right on my mouth here, my little microphone. So, okay, better? Okay, great. So
Much.
Okay, excellent. Plan Commission met on December 3rd. We held a hearing on Discover's application requesting rezoning of the King's Kennel parcel, which they want to use for either surface or structured parking. Discover also requested an amendment to the large office campus special use permit to incorporate King's Kennel parcel into the Discover campus. So after Discover's presentation and Q&A, questions by both the Plan Commission and the audience, of which there was a considerable amount, the Plan Commission discussed the application and we voted to recommend to the board approval of Discover's application with several conditions, including collaboration with the village ecologist on the landscaping, a height limit of the parking deck to 32 feet above ground, and satisfaction of special use and rezoning standards. Anything that I missed, Bruce?
Lighting. Did they allow a little bit higher height for the lighting on top of the roof?
I think it was whatever is the standard for lighting. It was 32 feet, no taller than 32 feet as far as I know, but correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce.
No, I think that was right. That they mentioned to us that there was lighting during the presentation, but the lighting that they will add on to that has to be consistent with the lighting that they have elsewhere.
But I know on the other garage, it's lower, it's a low Ballard type of lighting, not the higher pole. So I imagine that it does have a height restriction still.
Yeah, I don't, coming from the electrical industry, typically light poles are not considered structure. So that may be something you need to define better. But I mean, I don't know what their poles are now, but if they're, if it's a pole, it's probably at least 16 feet tall, and that would make the garage much shorter. So I don't know.
Well, we'll flesh out a few of these topics because the report for the Plan Commission will come to the board, and the next meeting will be for the board to look at an ordinance approving these changes.
I think we'd probably just do the same standard on the lighting that we did on their other parking structure. And I'm pretty sure on that side, and I'm pretty sure that's how it was set up, but again, it'll be coming with a full report to us. Are there any other questions for Lori? Right then, thank you. Police report?
Can't hear you, Bruce.
We can hear you, Bruce. Sorry. No, you're not muted, but we can't hear you though.
Check your microphone.
Looks like he's got the same kind of microphone Lori has.
You mean bad?
I suggest we come back to him.
I was gonna say, I think that's a necessary idea. If nothing else, I'll let him use mine. Village attorney's report?
We've had some conversations with the developer for the Thornton's parcel. I did prepare an amendment to the contract. In the meantime, before they signed it, they met with CubeSmart, and CubeSmart pretty much said, we don't like the idea of having that north road crossing in front of our property. GMX was going to go back and perhaps see if they could suggest having the traffic be only one way on that northern access route. And so then all the traffic basically coming into the site is what they want that for. And all the traffic leaving the gas station would come around the south part of the CubeSmart building. That might fly or it might not, so we're waiting to hear. I asked Thornton's to also reconsider whether it was essential to have this and whether they could just go in the traffic pattern that we had already anticipated when we created the South Drive. Because really, for people to be able to turn into the site and head towards the gas station, it's really the westbound traffic on Deerfield that they're trying to capture. And I don't know how significant that really is for them. So they're looking at it. There'll probably be another couple of weeks of discussion before we know what the outcome of that is. I think that's it right now.
Okay, any questions for the village attorney? All right, Chief, are you not online still? You want to come over and use?
I've got my documents here, so just give me 1 minute.
Okay, so I'll move on then to the information items. One, Sweet Basil had requested gaming, and the committee, or excuse me, the board had a question as to, first of all, where they were going to be locating it. Russ was able to obtain a rather simple, but I think effective drawing to tell us that it will be in the back of the bar, farthest away from the room. So there'll be a whole lot of people violating being in the bar under 21. If anybody 21 was to get to the gambling. So that should be all right. You asked some other, oh, Cheryl, yes?
I haven't been inside Sweet Basil since they did renovations. Is it still set up the same so that when you walk in, there is a whole bar area to the left, but most of the building is actually dining and tables if you're walking straight forward?
Yes, same setup, same, the major structure's the same.
Yeah, I don't think they made major relocation of walls and things. You know, Eric?
Is the video, excuse me, is the video poker area going to be separated by any sort of structure like plexiglass or anything?
No, I don't believe so. From what I saw on this, it would just be in the back bar area. If we wanted it to be in a separate room or something, that's something we'd have to tell them. So
if there's I know that in my package, I don't know if this is true of everyone else, there's a memo on this subject on page 85 of the packet. And I don't see it elsewhere on the agenda, John, so I thought I would
No,
just
it's not.
point this out.
And I think one of the questions was, yes, oh, Henry, go ahead.
Yeah, during the last meeting, when this was brought up, I asked Bruce if he could find out from Thornton's what the expected revenue from potential video gaming might be, just so we'd have some idea. I understand they're two different businesses, but just trying to get a ballpark estimate. Did we ever get that information, Bruce? You're muted.
Bruce disappeared.
You're muted, Bruce.
There,
you go.
is that better? I didn't ask Thornton's about that. I mean, to them, the revenue, I think, was more significant than it was to the village, is I think what they understood.
Sorry, Rick, I was with the chief's computer going off. I'm trying to make sure you're not getting too much feedback over there.
I just have a couple questions about the memo that Bruce put in that was in the packet. Is this the right time to ask the questions?
Yes, it's full discussion now.
Okay. So basically what I gathered is that you have to have a liquor license in order to have video gaming according to the state law. Is that correct?
Unless you're a truck stop.
Or a truck stop?
Yes, believe it or not, when I took a continuing legal education on that, there is a special category for truck stops.
Okay, well, regardless of that fact. So it would, depending on how we may or may not craft an ordinance, can we, I guess the question would be, the places that do have liquor license, like the Holiday Inn, and the gas stations, if we decide to let them have liquor licenses, because I'm sure if Thornton gets one.
Right. It has to be a license where someone pours liquor.
Oh, it's not a package.
Bulk sales, correct.
If you read the definition, it has to be where alcohol liquor is drawn, poured, mixed, or served for consumption.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I think it would realistically be, I don't know, they didn't define retail establishment. I don't know if that really applies to the Park District or Ravinia Green or to Estonia House, because I'm not really sure those are considered retail establishments. Estonia House may be, but we have 3 other licenses set aside for restaurants of the 10 that we have. So, and I don't believe a liquor store qualifies. I don't believe the gas stations where they're just takeout or, packages. So I think basically we have the 3 restaurants that we have now in the village could all avail themselves of this if they have the proper space inside, if they can meet all the requirements of the state law.
So then with the gas, I mean, we're talking about Thornton's, I mean, they're not going to be pouring liquor there. Are they considered a truck stop?
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time researching. There is a definition for a licensed truck stop establishment. And I didn't spend a lot of time before tonight trying to parse what those words were.
All right, that's fine. I can take a look at that now.
Henry?
Yeah, a licensed truck stop needs 3 acres, separate diesel islands, sells retail more than 10,000 gallons with parking spaces for commercial vehicles.
Okay, so we're not, it wouldn't be that.
I will point out that we found a case where one of the suburban villages was upheld when they were charging $1,000 per terminal as part of the licensing arrangement. So with the 6 terminals that you're looking at here, we would be able to charge $6,000 plus whatever share of the proceeds.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Bruce, that's back. So
Yeah, my computer's
at least we know the chief is capable of talking now. So before we mute him again, I'm going to stop right here for a moment and let him give his report.
You can hear me now?
Echoes.
Okay. I can't hear anything, but I'm hearing it over your computer, so that's fine. Okay. All I wanted to say was that the police activity is in the packets, And I do want to report that the Riverwoods Police Department was among the first in the state to be awarded the federal use of force certification after review of our use of force general order and our training that was completed by all of our officers. We were found to have met the federal use of force eligibility requirements set forth by the U.S. Department of Justice for discretionary federal grants. So this was as a result of an executive order by the president on safe policing to make sure that all police departments are meeting certain standards. I think that's pretty fluid, but right now we are one of the first to be certified. And that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the chief? Let me say congratulations to the chief and his department for being ahead on that. They didn't have to change anything. They just had to document what they were already doing, which I think is the real answer we all want. Okay, now going back, are there other questions or comments as far as the gaming license? As I said, there's a case that allows municipalities to actually license the machines. So we would be able to increase revenue in that regard, besides just the share of the gambling proceeds, which according to my information is relatively small. No, okay. Do you want us to move forward on amending this then as regards Sweet Basil? Do you want a more formal application? Just what kind of direction would you want to give to council and I?
Let me just give you two things to think about. Obviously, we can simply repeal the section that outlawed any kind of video gaming terminal in the village, so that we would not have a blanket prohibition at that point. The next step really, I think, is we need to craft a liquor license. We don't, I think, I'm not sure that the available licenses necessarily meet what Sweet Basil would be looking for. I don't know if, I think we might have one open, but I'm not sure. But obviously, crafting the liquor license to their operation is important, because without it, they're not even eligible. So, you know, the board could ask us to prepare an ordinance. We could repeal this prohibition. That's the easy part. And the next part would be deciding what the appropriate criteria are for service of liquor in that establishment.
I would like to move this forward. We're at least putting more information out to be discussing, not necessarily just a blanket removal of the prohibition. I do want to make sure we're thinking about this as we go forward, but are there any specific issues people would like to have addressed as part of that, Cheryl?
Well, really, I think the way we're looking at it, we want to look at it because there probably wouldn't be a lot of revenue, is this an incentive for businesses to come to Riverwoods that would be enough of an incentive that it would make a difference? And if not, considering that it's not a revenue generator for us, then we might look at it a little differently. So I would really be interested to hear what Thornton says.
Okay, and just so you know, talking about Sweet Basil, if we had, say, the $1,000 per unit, I imagine that would be $10,000 at least to the village annually, which is not going to close our budget gap, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. Mr. Haber.
I think another reason to look at it is to determine whether or not it'll help Sweet Basil, because obviously a lot of these retail establishments, including that restaurant, have had some trouble in the past. And if it drives more customers into his location and keeps him, profitable, and that center then stays profitable. Obviously, we've been talking about other incentives to make that center, more, more likely to survive. So I think for that reason, we should look at it as well.
Well, and I would think about, would we want to collect everything up front? Well, because of COVID, do we let him use it as helping him get off the ground, et cetera? Rick?
Just a couple things. First of all, to trustees, to Chamberlain's comment about Thornton's, I think we already decided that they don't meet the criteria for a truck stop. So it doesn't make any difference what they say, right? I agree with Trustee Haber about the viability of Sweet Basil and maybe the shopping center. So we should probably look at it in that regards. But yeah, I'd like to see more about exactly how we're gonna make it work, so. I'm not necessarily opposed to it at this point.
Right. Well, again, I wouldn't expect anybody to be saying they're for or against. All I want to know is if anybody's adamant that they wanted it to remain the same, and I'm not hearing that. So we'll investigate further and try to flesh out some more of the ideas that are involved. Speaking of the revenue, all of you should have received copies of the proposed planning and tracking budget from the Finance Committee. I know that Trustee Jamerson had some questions that he's forwarded on. If others of you do have it, again, this is planning and guidance, so it's not authorizing actual spending. And I want to make sure everybody gets a shot at it. It is something we are using. As we noted before, we have cut. Spending itself is down, and we can track where we're at and try to look at it. I'm taking something right now on looking for other taxation sources and discovered that the franchise tax is supposed to go away. And they don't have a specific replacement. Now, that was part of the package as approving the fair tax amendment, which didn't go through. So God only knows what's going to come out of Springfield. So don't expect great stability as far as taxes go for a while and what we're likely to see. And I did hear something that they're not expecting to see the actual online taxation until the 1st of 2021 as far as any real revenue. So we'll see if maybe it does pick up at that point. And again, that's just kind of a heads up because it doesn't sound like anybody down there really knows where it's going. And I think we've heard enough that they're doing a lot of scrambling down there. Along those lines, though, to drop off of the stated agenda at this point, we were just hearing that Buffalo Grove's cannabis shop that we thought was going to be across from Woodman's has apparently not gotten its license. So the prohibition due to distance isn't there. I don't know that it makes any difference from where we're sitting right now and what we passed, but I'll throw that out there, and that's something that we need to take a look at again. Because apparently the reports are right now that there's been a very high level of sales of legal cannabis.
Well, I would just offer that if the board doesn't recall, we've passed amendments that allow it to be a use
right
over at shops or clinical courts. So the village really doesn't have to change its legal structure. It just needs an applicant.
So,
well, so should we be tapping the shoulder of Avalon and telling them that they should be looking for an applicant?
That's an interesting question. We should make sure, I think, that they know the factual situation.
Well, that's what I mean.
Henry?
I discussed this subject with them about a year ago. I have not brought it up again, although I did have a conversation with them last week about something else. So unless the board or someone else objects, I will revisit the issue and just say maybe they might be interested in taking a second look.
Just so that they know. Obviously, they're not always aware of the circumstances in the neighborhood. So we should pass that along. I will say that we've gotten more revenue from the hemp shop, or whatever the correct terminology is for that shop, than any of us expected. And it's coming in under the legalized marijuana heading. Yes.
CBD.
Okay, thank you. Mike, you're muted.
So I'm a little confused. So I know there's Sunnyside in Buffalo Grove.
Right.
But that's what, medical? And so
Correct.
the distinction is between medical and recreational. And do we believe that they're not even applying for the recreational? Or are they, I would assume that Sunnyside is in the process of trying to make that into a recreational and medicinal dispensary. And if that's not true, then obviously we should be looking into this more. But if it is true, I would hope to, I don't want to put shops into, going after something that they're not likely to get because Sunnyside has their leg in it already.
Mike, my understanding from just this afternoon, and whoever brought it up, I'll let them go into it in more detail if they wish, is that it's more that the licensee doesn't want to go to that location because they didn't think it was large enough. It was more their choice. I don't know that the license is.
I don't think that's not what, I didn't say
No?
it, but I don't think that's what was said. I think what was said was they've applied for a license, we think, because why wouldn't they? And they haven't gotten one yet. And that the medical marijuana shops were supposed to like automatically be granted a recreational license. And so if they haven't been granted a license, there's an issue there. And that was the question. Nobody said that they didn't get a license. It's just that, right, Henry? Is that what you said?
My understanding is that they would have been able to get a recreational license if they stayed in the same location that their medical license was granted. What they're doing
I
is
misunderstood that.
locations, and therefore they're having a problem getting the license, and they have requested a license, but have been so far stonewalled. So I don't quite
Out of
understand.
Springfield or?
By Springfield.
Hasn't Springfield put all of them on hold because they opened up the period for which applications could be submitted because there was a lawsuit that was filed?
That may be true. I don't know that.
You know, I just don't know. Whatever it is, it sounds like we need to find out what the situation is as well.
Okay.
Although some of that's up to Avalon. Maybe we should tell them, we don't know what's going on, but so far it hasn't happened. And leave it at that without getting into the who, what, where, when, why too deeply. And just advise them on that. So, okay, then moving forward, since we are talking about shops, they have reported completion of the work on the northern entrance. And they forwarded a rather simple invoice to us. I think that was included, hopefully under information. So my understanding is we said we would pay half up to, what is it, 20 or 30? Rick, you have a comment, so please go ahead.
Well, I believe we said half of up to half of $60,000. But the question I have is, I remember somebody saying something about soft costs and hard costs, and there's engineering on their invoice for 13 grand. There's 10% construction management fee for 5,300. So I don't remember what we agreed upon.
Exactly, said I'd have to go dig it out too.
But it's the difference between paying half of 59,000 or half of roughly 40,000.
So
it depends on whether the
I believe it was hard cost, hard construction.
hard costs too, and that's why I'm asking the question.
So do you feel, Rick, because you're knowledgeable in this, that is clear enough as to what's hard, or would you like more detail?
Well, no, engineering and design is usually considered a soft cost.
I can answer. I've got the agreement in front of me that we prepared with them. Cost of the work, we pay 50% of the cost of the work as certified to the village by the owner's engineer, but not in excess of 30,000. And cost of the work means, definition, hard construction costs and expenses as paid by owner to third parties to perform the work, and shall include a construction engineering supervision fee to owner's engineer, but shall not include any soft costs for any other construction supervision, management fees, design fees, or other third-party consultant fees.
Okay, so then that means we have to pay the engineering costs, from what I heard.
Right.
So
but not the management costs.
We can only deduct the $5,368.05 from the invoice.
So instead of 29, we'd be 27. Is what
Something
you're
like that.
calculating. I'll get there in a second, Cheryl.
Something like that.
Cheryl?
I know we have pictures, but I just wanted to make sure that we've actually had somebody go out and check the work. Have we?
Well, that was actually done under the state, wasn't it? Where's Patrick? Is he still here somewhere?
I've been by several times. I know it happened. I don't know if it's the code.
Oh, there's Patrick. Yeah, Patrick, have you?
I've not physically visited the site. By the photos and the certification that we got from Manhart, I don't doubt it, but I certainly can take a ride by and confirm it if the board wishes.
Given that Manhart did it, I'm not too anxious to have Pat take a look and spend extra money.
Right.
Anybody else on that? Okay.
I mean, it's done.
So we will put that in line then for payment. I'll make sure everybody knows the amount before it goes out though. Because again, that one's a touchy enough subject. Okay, then, moving on, visitors wishing to address the board. The chief says nobody's online. Do I have a motion for approval of bills?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or is
Um,
it asked to have those? All right. Rick, you're not muted. Cheryl, I'll give you time to unmute.
Who's first, Cheryl or me?
Rick.
I guess I just have a couple questions. You notice that there's a bill in here for Lake County for streetlights. Do we know why they're sending us an invoice for streetlights and which ones they are? Because ComEd is the one that I mean, unless it's the streetlights on the traffic signals, which are all on their streets. I'm not sure why they're charging us for, and I didn't see the bill because it's not in my packet, which is where I would have expected it to come.
Right.
So I guess the question is, why are we paying them that much money? It's not a ton of money, but it's.
No, you're not aware and you didn't see it. No one else saw that invoice, then we'll hold it.
The other question I had was for website, and I'm trying to find it. Page 37 of 90. The top one is Isabel Cadro. Website maintenance.
No, it's not website.
No, that was one of mine. It's not really in the right category.
Right. It's under the wrong heading. That would be the branding, et cetera, and communication.
Okay, those were my questions. Thank you.
The payments occur okay, but it's in the wrong place. That's 907. Okay, got it. Cheryl, was that what yours was?
That was one of them. And then part of the Davy bill, I just want to make sure it gets, we send out an invoice to the resident on Orange Brace.
Yeah.
And I was just curious. So there were several AES bills going all the way back to May, and I didn't really understand why we were paying a whole series of bills going back to May. So you'll probably have to ask Susie about that.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thanks.
Because unless Steve just submitted them for some reason or they didn't get through other.
He's never done that before. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I understand it's an aberration, so we'll double check that. I will hold those. Any others? Then with those exceptions, we have a motion and second to approve bills. May I have a roll call, please? You're muted.
I swear I click it. Trustee Chamberlain.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein.
Aye.
Trustee Haber.
Aye.
Trustee Hollander.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now moving on to action items. You can see I slightly rearranged the agenda and we're covering old business first. If for no other reason than I wanted to make sure that we had second reading and adoption of the ordinance to levy for the levy of taxes for the Village of Riverwoods for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. Council, you made a few changes. I think you probably should address those just so everyone is certain of what you did and why.
Oh, that's, I think I put it in my memo to you, but basically I only changed a couple of the SSA levies and I have two more changes to tell you tonight because they drift in as they do. The levy for SSA 26, they had their meeting last night. This is the one that authorized an increase in their maximum tax levy. This is on page 47 of the packet. So instead of 13,400, they would like the levy to be 40,200. It says, well, they're going up to half of what they were authorized to do. I just want to.
Well, it's a significant change, so.
Then there's one other one I'll give you as soon as I find it here. Sorry. SSA 33 is Arrowwood. No, I'm sorry. Yes, Arrowwood. Actually, it's correctly listed as $4,500. I was waiting for them to verify that. So the only change tonight is that SSA 26 would go up to 40,200.
Do I have oh, yes, Henry?
Yeah, I'm sort of curious, Bruce, because I know in our SSA, I played with the idea that if we have 1 or 2 houses that are coming up for sale in the SSA, and if you take the fee and let's say go from $1,000 a house to $25,000 a house to put money into the bank for future road use, what happens when the house sells? So you have a property that's put in over 2 years, 50 grand, knowing that they're going to be moving out.
Well, no, it's not 25,000 a house. It's
Well, let's assume that it's a high amount, that you would change the fee, anticipating that the people that are moving out for a couple of years won't have access to it. Does it stay with the house, or does it go back to the owner, or is it individual?
Actually, the funds stay with the village because they're in a village account. When we collect the money, it's a tax. It goes into the village account for the SSA. So it's available for the SSA. So, we're talking about, in the case of SSA 26, a levy of $600 per house. So even at that number, because there's 67 homes, taxable homes. So this is the same situation that we have in the village when we decide how much to collect in a reserve, how much you would be able to afford to replace a road without having to increase fees at that moment or taxes. So people in the SSAs ask me this question all the time. And I say, it's your decision, it's your call. How much do you want to have in the kitty for anticipated repairs? What do you want to accomplish? But the money is not refunded or rebated or anything like that. It's just available to the SSA. And so people pay in, and at the rates that people are paying in, no one has really been trying to accumulate deliberately large balances. Most homeowners are trying to have enough to pay the current year's bills and a cushion for what they can see in 3 to 4 years.
And
So no
part
one's being
of
consistent
your
yet.
question, Henry, I think is the real estate contract normally calls for a proration depending on who was owning the house for how long during a particular period. And they
Thank
would
you.
know the taxes at the time of closing, or should, or at least they'll have a estimate on it based on the prior year's tax. So come on, let those lawyers earn their money at those closings. They take long enough now. So are there any other questions? If not, do I have a motion for second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the levy of taxes for the Village of Riverwoods for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020,
As amended.
as amended?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, I'll take the first as a move and trustee Chamberlain as a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
That is ordinance 2012-21. Thank you.
Thank you. Under new business then, first item of business would be the ordinance adopting by reference the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance as last amended. I would ask to waive first reading and have second reading adoption. Pat can explain it more, but basically to remain in good standing with the stormwater people and be able to remain the authority that implements it within our village, we have to adopt this. Is that correct, Mr. Engineer?
It is, and as I mentioned in my memo, typically we just kind of adopt it without a whole lot of discussion. There was just the one new provision that they have that I outlined in my memo about there are provisions that essentially allow the community, the enforcement officer, to collect fees in lieu of detention, stormwater detention above a certain level. As I noted, it is not by right that developers can avail themselves of this. It is a village decision based largely on, adequate downstream capacity. It does leave a fair amount of room for engineering judgment, but all things being considered, I still recommend that the village adopt the ordinance as amended, and we can deal with individual developments wanting to avail themselves of this fee in lieu on a case-by-case basis.
Cheryl?
Could you tell us a little bit more about the fee in lieu certification process? What do we need to do?
Well, in truth, it's the county has not fully fleshed out exactly what the process should be. The ordinance, I'm sure that the attorneys did the best they could with what they had available, but it is not yet fully fleshed out. But essentially, what I anticipate the process would be, if a developer asked to take this fee in lieu route, number one, they would still provide a larger volume of stormwater detention than what the current ordinance requires, and then they would make a formal application to the village, and we would review it. Undoubtedly, there would be all sorts of downstream hydraulic analysis that has to happen. We would probably weigh whether it made sense to grant the fee in lieu and perhaps do a downstream improvement with that money that's taken in. It has to be spent in the same watershed, and it's spent on stormwater improvements. But the actual process, the forms, it's all new and it hasn't been fully vetted out yet.
So I'm just wondering, is there something that we need to change in our own building permitting process to make sure that we are paying attention to these changes?
No, I don't think so. Any development that comes before us that hits the detention threshold comes through my office, and we stay pretty close to this.
We collect a separate amount based on what the engineering review would be, so it shouldn't change it other than maybe the extent of the review.
Right. And then I also noticed there were several changes that related to plants and plantings and things like that. So would you, Pat, let Steve Zimmerman know about these changes as well?
Yes, of course. And yeah, I will. I'm almost certain, I don't know, I don't think it's Steve, but somebody from AES is actually on the advisory committee, but I will certainly make sure that Steve's aware of this.
Yes, Mr. Clayton?
If one of our upstream neighbors decides to adopt the fee in lieu situation, do we have any say in the process being downstream?
We don't, by the ordinance, no, but certainly we would have standing if an upstream community, say someplace in Lincolnshire, perhaps was considering this, and they said, "Oh, there's plenty of downstream capacity." We certainly would be able to bring forward our rebuttal to that notion to say, "No, there isn't." But I don't think that we would be able to intercede. Well, first of all, Lincolnshire is not a certified community, so it would really be the county that we would take our complaint to.
So there may be relief, but nothing direct under any of this is what it comes down to. Any other questions? Comments? Then I need a motion to waive first reading. We need to adopt that before the end of the year, I believe you said, right, Pat?
Actually, we have, we could adopt it at the first meeting in January if we wanted to, but I'd like to get it off the desk.
I'll leave it to the board's discretion. I don't like to run things by you without first reading, but this is
I make a
yours.
motion. I'll make a motion that we waive first reading.
Second.
Discussion, hearing none, roll call please on a motion to waive first reading.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
All right, now that we've waived first reading, do I have a motion for second reading and adoption of an ordinance adopting by reference the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance as last amended?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance 201222.
Thank you. Now, item C, an ordinance of the Village of Riverwoods, Lake County, Illinois, abating the 2020 tax levy for $644,000 special service area number 26, special tax bonds, series 2013 of said village. Council, do you wish to explain?
Well,
Beyond your memo?
this might start, I hope it's starting to sound familiar. We had unspent construction project monies. Some of these, the construction costs came in lower than we had budgeted, which was good. The question was what to do with the surplus. We worked out an arrangement with the bank that holds the bonds to use a portion of the surplus each year so that it gradually works down. So in effect, the last 4 or 5 years of these bonds, or 6 years, the debt service has been less than what the original schedule was. So these ordinances, both for SSA 26 and 25, accomplish that. And it's basically going to be the same amount for the remaining life of the bonds. And at the end of the bonds, they should all zero out.
So we would ask for a waiver of first reading on the ordinance to abate the 2020 tax levy on.
Right, I misspoke. I said for SSA 25 and 26, it's 26 and 27. I'm sorry.
So do I have a motion to waive first reading on the ordinance to abate the 2020 taxes for special service area number 26?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, hearing none, roll call please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
All right, then we need second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the Village of Riverwoods, Lake County, Illinois, abating the 2020 tax levy for $644,000, excuse me, special service area number 26, special tax bonds, series 2013 of said village. Do I have a motion for second reading and adoption? Yes. Trustee Chamberlain, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Jamerson, further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you. That is ordinance 201223.
All right, then, item D is a similar ordinance for the Village of Riverwoods, Lake County, Illinois, abating the 2020 tax levy for $60,000 for special service area number 26, special tax bond series 2014 of said village. Do I have a motion?
Just to correct, that was special service area number 27 in this case. And also, just for everyone who might be listening, when the mayor reads the title of the abatement ordinance and it's the 60,000 special service area tax bonds, that's the original principal amount of the bonds, just for anyone listening. The abatement amount itself, in this case, is much less. This particular ordinance, the abatement amount is $1,667.
And do I have a motion to waive first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Right, no further discussion being heard. Roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance number,
I'm sorry, I thought that was the waive first reading.
was that first reading?
Yeah.
I got ahead of myself, sorry. I apologize, Madam Clerk. All right, now I need a motion for second reading adoption, after which, if it is approved, we'll get the number for the ordinance.
So moved.
Is it
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance 20-12-24.
Thank you. Well, now this becomes a very controversial next item E, because our clerk is obviously so competent. She's on top of everything, and I don't know why she'd need any help. But she's pointed out that she is not always here. The board has already passed an ordinance authorizing that a deputy village clerk be appointed. And as you note, it's for no additional compensation unless this board would do so. Daphne has requested that you approve the appointment of Katie. She's very willing to accept it, and I think she will do a good job. So, yes, Rick?
Just have one question. She's capable of doing all the signing that the clerk is capable of based on the ordinance I read. That she's not going to be a signer on the bank accounts, correct?
No, no. It's only clerk duties. The bank accounts is a separate issue.
That would be a problem with separation as much as we have it as it is now.
Yeah, no, that would be worse than, because she does have to do with deposits, etc. So do I have a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, on the motion to approve the appointment of Katie Bound as deputy village clerk, hearing no further discussion, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. That means the clerk is not going to go to Hawaii over Christmas, so she really thanks you. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Rick?
I just have something real quick, and I will apologize first. I know that when I brought this subject up several months ago, I promised everyone that I would send them around a map of all the streetlights in town, which I never did. And so I will do that. However, we got a notice from ComEd saying that since we've pushed up because I got involved and I asked them to push up the installation of the LED fixtures to this year, to 2021, we are going to be saving a whopping $508 a year on energy costs for all of the 11 light fixtures, street lights in town. So,
Like I said about the 10,000, Rick, I'll take 500 at a crack. Every penny counts, right?
I guess I can help a lot, but every little bit helps. So
It does.
it will be changing them sometime in 2021, and then these savings will be fully realized. So.
All right, did anyone else have anything for the good of the order? I know of no reason to go into executive session. I want to wish those who are celebrating Hanukkah that you have had and continue to have a happy Hanukkah. Those celebrating other holidays, may they also be happy, and everybody have a safe and happy new year. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right, well, our next meeting is January 5th, 2021. May I have a roll call on the motion to adjourn?
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick, can you stay on for just a minute?
Who did you want to stay on?
Hmm?
Who are
Oh,
you
I
at?
can't, never mind. I'll kind of separately. It's okay.
Okay. Everybody stay
Everyone.
safe and have a great new year.
Happy New Year.
You guys, have a good one.